Welcome to meeting number 5 of our certification challenge. This is really exciting today because we're going to talk about probably one of the most important aspects to achieving a certification. That is taking the dumb test itself. We need to make sure that we are in tune with some great strategies that I have suggested, and I think I found them particularly helpful for at least me, and I've shared them with some other people as well. And I am excited to be able to share those with you. So welcome, come on in. We will be getting started here. I show it's 9 o'clock my time. And so we'll just give it a minute or two before we actually jump into the material. It looks like everyone's coming in. Good morning, good afternoon, Alessandro and Arthur. I'm always forgive me that I don't necessarily, sound only in the left. Thank you. Let's see here. I think I can fix that. 1 second. Okay. We'll see if we can get that working here. Advanced audio properties. Mono. There we go. Now you should have it in both. Testing out all my other ones. Check 1, 2. Yep. Okay. So we should have got Argentina here. Wonderful. Ruggiero. Yep. Awesome. Good. We got that resolved. That's good. It was, for some reason, it was set like that before. I don't know why it reverted. So I'm glad to have everyone here. Welcome. Come on in. We are getting started here this morning. Let's just drop in the comments, so you have the chat. How's the preparation going for your certification? So, just maybe a couple of sentences, something. How's it going? Are you having, you feel like you're getting more ready for the certification, or you still feel like you need a couple more weeks? Because remember, we have till March 31st. I'll go ahead and I'll start with mine. So while I'm saying how my preparation's going, feel free to again drop in the comments the question, whatever that box is called over there on the side. Let's see here, I think it's right over here. With whatever. How is your certification preparation going? So that's a question for you all. How is your certification preparation going? I am obviously studying on the JavaScript developer test, and I would say it's going actually really well. Ultimately, I am not as far as I wanted to be. I have my test scheduled for the 3rd, and I am probably about 3/4 of the way through the study guide. So I probably am going to delay it a little bit unless I just want to take my chances and go for it. We'll see. We'll see how I'm feeling. I think it's on Tuesday, March 3rd, if I remember correctly. So, but otherwise, I think it's going really good. And I say the reason it's going really good is because I've been able to get in and understand how how it works. Some of this JavaScript stuff, it's kind of been an enigma to me. But one thing is, you've heard me be saying over and over again, if there's an area that you're uncomfortable about, if there's an area that just doesn't seem like any fun to dig into, that's the area that you got to get into. And so I've been trying to take a little bit of my own medicine here, and I've been doing that. And I don't know, whoever follows in our Slack channel, that today I studied. And real quick interruption. So I have a question out for everybody. If you are studying and preparing for a test, just drop in to the comments, the questions box, whatever you want, whatever the name of that is, how your preparation is going. So that's a question. How is your preparation going? And I'd love to see your answer there in the live chat. So yeah, I've been excited. I've been really happy. And for example, one thing, UI components, and I just nailed this a couple of days ago. So it's especially fresh in my mind. The scoping, and how do you actually nest UI components? And I figured out how to do that. So I was really excited about that. It took me a couple days to study. I mean, again, I'm studying 15, 20 minutes a day, so it's not a huge amount of study time, but it is something that I'm working to be very consistent with it. And so I was really excited to be able to get that done. So ultimately, if I was just reading the study guide, I would have definitely been complete by now, but I'm working to understand those areas that I really am a little bit skeptical about. All right, we're seeing some responses coming in here. EJaz canceled his exam today because of today's session. Well, I hope it's very valuable to you because I think there'll be some great suggestions in here. Congratulations, Ravi. Cleared the associate, reading the associate developer PDF. Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. And we're going to talk about the project guide today, which I believe is one of the great keys to passing this test. So the project guide. Addy pushed his exam back a little while to a couple weeks, did not feel confident. Good for you. It's really important to understand where you're at and when you are ready to take the test. Actually, I didn't get that comment in my slide, so I will work to make sure that we talk about that. When am I ready to take the test? Alessandro, good. Keeping up with 15. I do have a suspicion. Alessandro, let's just put it this way, is a Magento core contributor, contributed a ton to the core, like he's one of the award winners, if I remember correctly. He's a Magento master. I'm guessing he's going to get at least in the 90s, he'll probably be the closest to 100% that you literally could get. So that's just my prediction. We'll see how that works out. Anyways, all right. Let's jump into this and kick it off. I will say that I received notification about Jason passing the test. I did not see about Ravi passing the test. So I apologize for that. But Dixit, come on in. Welcome. Good to have you here. So anyways, congratulations on the passes. This is wonderful. It's why I'm doing this. This is why I am pulling this together, because I want to see people pass. I want to see people be successful, and that is why I'm doing this. So congratulations, Jason and Ravi, on passing tests. We have the month of March now. Today's leap year day, so we get a very special extra day of the year. So hopefully, maybe this will be spent working to study up for your test. So hey, a great way to use this extra day of the year. Yes, we are going to talk about how to take the exam. That is really important. There are some incredibly important strategies in that. Okay, so I want to mention this this morning. The Associate Developer Project Guide videos. To be frank, this has been a real challenge for me, and I'm probably going to do a video about that, just because sometimes getting started in projects that end up getting delayed, and this was one of those projects. It just seemed like there was thing after thing that kept coming up. I was not able to get it done, and so it was a bit of a mental roadblock to actually get this done. So bless my wife's heart, she's a good woman. She encouraged me, said, "You can do it. Just be consistent about it." I said, "Okay, I will be." So I've been recording 3 videos a day. My goal is to record 5 videos. There's like literally over 40 videos for this project guide. And some of these videos are like 20, 30 minutes long. Just because, again, it's my goal to have this be a training course, not just, okay, here's the feature in Magento and here's what you need to do to configure, but here's why and here is how you need to configure this. Here's where you need to look in order to get the right information on how to do it correctly. So we have our first 3 videos up on that. Again, I'm really excited. I think I've recorded like 26 of the videos, so they're being edited a little bit and updated. So so this is so I'm really excited. It is on YouTube, that we have a playlist, and I've dropped that in our general Slack chat channel. So feel free to start watching those videos, and I hope you find them beneficial. Of course, feel free to ask questions, whatever. My goal is to make this really, really, really helpful to every one of you. Yes, good. Ravi is on to the professional test. Good for you. That is the way to do it. See, and I use this as, you're a great example. So if I could just brag on you for 1 second. So you started with the associate developer. Chances are your skills are way beyond an associate developer. That's great. But you took that step back, said, okay, I'm going to get in and I'm going to understand how this Magento test stuff works. You start with the associate developer, and now you are working up to the professional developer. So that is the way to do it. You are going to be much more successful. I'm not saying the professional developer is now going to be easy. Remember, I say the associate developer is a 3 out of 10, and the professional developer is going to be a 10 out of 10. So it's the hardest test that Magento has. But you've eliminated, let me put it this way. I would say after you've taken the associate developer test, look at the professional as a 7 out of 10 as opposed to a 10 out of 10. I think that's probably a good way to look at it. All right, practice tests. We talked about last week how to effectively use those, work through those tests. And if you don't want to pay for practice tests, it's available online. I've used the Magento U. In the Magento U study guide, there's like 3 or 4 questions. And something that I've come across in this, I think after my our live stream last time, so that was 2 weeks ago, I went in and I said, okay, I'm just curious, how am I doing on my JavaScript developer preparation? So I went through the test. I got an 81%. So we'll see how that matches up to the real test. And that was 2 weeks ago. So hopefully my score will be even better now. But I went through the test and then at the end, I thought, this was kind of a light bulb moment for me. So this is really interesting. I am not going to look at the questions and the answers. I'm just going to use this as an assessment for right now. And in fact, I'm going to add into my test, I'm going to add an assessment mode. So basically, it just shows you your score, and you have to check a box or 2 in order to see all the questions and answers. Use it as an assessment. Just how am I doing? Am I going to get a better score this next time? So you're not actually validating whether these questions and the answers. You're just taking a test as if you would go into a Magento exam. However, what I'm going to do just before I take the real exam, I'm going to take the practice test again, and then I'm going to get in and I'm going to look at the questions and the answers. Okay, where am I struggling? How am I struggling in this? And as such, I am hopeful that is going to be really powerful and predicting as well. So we're not necessarily just taking the test and reviewing all the questions. Instead, we are using it as assessment at first and then as a study tool just before taking the test. So I hope to make a couple updates to our practice test system in order to accommodate what that learning, that light bulb moment that I had in this. All right, so let's get into the real material here that I'm really excited to talk about. Taking the test. We have a couple of options, and you pick whatever option is better for you. The first one, we can take it at a test center. You can go online. Here's a couple test centers in India. You can go and see where you want to take the test there. It's up to you. There's a couple of limitations. First, the proctor watches you, which is just fine. I mean, of course, on the other option, you're kind of being watched too, but a proctor does watch you. And then you only can take the test on the days that the test center is available. So what's wrong with this? Well, let's just put it this way. This is how it usually works. So you walk into the test center, check in with the person at the front desk, show them your ID. You have to sign a paper or 2. In fact, one place, I literally had to do an airport security pat down. At least it was me doing it on myself. But I had to prove that there was nothing in my waistband. I had to roll up my pant legs. It was ridiculous. It literally felt like a criminal going in there going to take a test. I guess they have good reason to do that. Whatever. That's fine. That's their deal. So then they take you into this room, and there's usually, I don't know, it varies between, say, 10 and 30 computers, like these individual monitors sitting in the room there. They take you over there. The person bends over and punches a whole bunch of keys into the keyboard, and then invites you to sit down in the chair. Right in front of you, you see your keyboard, you see the monitor, you see a pair of earplugs. That's it. Nothing else. So you are not allowed to have any notes, any reference material, usually not even paper when you go take the test here. So sit down, of course, look around, and you see maybe several other people in there. Here's how the problem, though. Invariably, one of these people, maybe the person next to you, is going to be doing this the whole time. Yatsu! The entire time. And you're going to be sitting there thinking, especially nowadays, does that person have the coronavirus? And if you're not going to be able to concentrate on taking this dumb test. You're going there to focus, put all your mental energy into taking this test, and you can't even focus on it. The person next to you is going to be sitting in a squeaky chair as they're nervously rocking back and forth. Squeak, 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 squeak. Am I going to pass this test? Squeak, 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 squeak. and you're here trying to take this test. Well, then you reach forward, you take the earplugs out, and if you're like me, who has very specially designed ear canals, full of some extra gunk usually that doesn't help the earplugs stay in, you twist them up, you smash them in your ears, and a few seconds later, they come flying out. So, to save you all of that pain, I propose to you a better option. Nothing against test centers. Nothing against anybody else that goes to these test centers. I just think that there is a better route. And I would like to present that to you. Take it at your home or office. My friends, I take it here. This is literally right here. In my office is where you see where I take it. So I have a webcam. It's kind of attached to just about everything here. But I have a webcam right there. You can see it. And you hear stuff falling down. If you saw my post on LinkedIn the other night, last night, I happened to show my entire messy desk. And so, it's in need of a cleaning today. So, I have a little table that I can set up right here next to me, and I put my laptop on it. So I unplug my laptop from my monitors, put my laptop here, and then I have my webcam I put next to me. So it's like a 90 degree. So I'm sitting here looking at my laptop, putting my webcam so it can see my computer screen, it can see me, it can see everything kind of around there. And then you take your test there. So the cool thing is I'm here in my office. I am not distracted. Like literally I spend a huge amount of my day here in this office every day. And I'm comfortable here. I don't have worries about the coronavirus here. It's easy. So I know not everyone will have that luxury of being able to do this, or maybe not everyone has a webcam. So, the test center is the other option. But if you have that option, take it up. Seriously, take it up. It's so much more comfortable. You're in your own environment. You can focus. You can think through what's going on here. So that was a little bit of dramatized there, but hopefully it is helpful in considering where you're going to take this test, because you do have options, and I hope that you take the option that will best lead you to success. Again, think about it like this. If you have a couple of distractions and it causes you to miss one or two questions, maybe you were close anyways, that literally could be the difference between pass and failure, because you are worried about this person having the flu next to you and infecting you with it, or this other person nervously rocking in their chair the entire time, and you're hearing about 100,000 squeaks, and it's not coming from a mouse. All right, all that aside, let's look at how to take this test. So we've identified where to take the test, all that good stuff. So let's talk about how to take this test. All right, so we have, and I pulled one of our practice test questions. This is not from the real test, so mind you, this is not from the real test. But let's look at how some of this works. So questions are going to have each test question is going to have three parts. You're going to have the scenario. You're going to have a question. What are you going to do about this scenario? The information that was presented there. And then you're going to have answers. The answers are 1 out of 4, those radio buttons. You're going to have 2 out of 4, those check boxes, and 3 out of 5, same thing. So the scenario is usually going to paint a picture. It's going to say what information has been configured on this Magento store. It's maybe going to contain some code. Here is what was done previously. What needs to be modified in order to do this? Maybe the business requirements for a specific configuration, a specific feature that needs to be built, and how are you going to accomplish this? So that would be examples of a scenario. Then we have the question, and the question is going to tell you what needs to happen. And I wrote this down, but there is a number of qualifiers that you will find. Let me just do a search in my email here. Let's see here. Okay. It was great. When we were in Orlando a couple of weeks ago, we got talking about some of these qualifiers, and I don't have the example right here on my screen, but in some of these questions, right here at the beginning, usually, there will be some qualifiers to this question. So, for example, keeping upgradability in mind, or keeping maintainability in mind, keeping testability in mind, keeping extensibility in mind, keeping modularity in mind, keeping compatibility in mind, or simplicity in mind. What this is asking you for is, or is telling you first, we'll go through what it's telling you. It's saying, hey friend, test taker, there is going to be at least 2 correct answers. 2 correct answers will fulfill the requirements as laid out in this question. But only one of those requirements will fulfill the requirement as set up by this qualifier. So, for example, what if this said, keeping maintainability in mind, what 2 steps does the merchant take to reduce this possibility? Okay, what 2 steps would that be? Then you would look through here, say, okay, there's going to be at least 2 right answers. Well, actually, keeping maintainability in mind, though, when there's a qualifier, it's almost always the 1 out of 4. So this question doesn't exactly fit that mold. So we would say, okay, which of these questions are correct? There's probably going to be at least 2 that will get the job done. But only one of those will get the job done keeping maintainability in mind. To be frank, these can be some of the most difficult questions of all, simply because we might think of multiple answers that would qualify, that would resolve this situation, that would correctly resolve what the business requirements as laid out would be. But we have to look then a step deeper. We have to evaluate this, not necessarily from a let's just get it done standpoint, but let's get this done right. That's very difficult. That is very difficult. So those questions. So when you see that, it's a big red flag. Hey, there are at least 2 correct answers. In fact, in some questions that I have seen, all 4 are possibly correct answers. And that's really scary. But only one of them provides good maintainability. Only one of them provides good upgradability. So that's where it takes some real effort and focus on this to be able to understand what's going on. Okay, so let's here. Got a couple questions. Ravi, 1 out of 4, 1 and 4 possibly. It's funny, I haven't even reviewed what this question says or what it is. Let's see here. Merchant offer videos. They're concerned that videos to send videos to their friend. Take it. Okay, so this is talking about downloadable products. See your configure store configuration, email store admin. Unfortunately, that is not possible. Let's see here. 2 set shareable to be no and store configuration correct. Set the videos max down list to be a small number correct. So that'd be B and C here. Have a developer install an IP address filter for these products. So technically this wouldn't be correct. And it might be a good upgrade to this question to say what merchant does that. Well, 4 might be a little bit too much of a distractor. So we might want to take that one out. So the correct answer is B and C here, talking about downloadable products. So all that to say, watch out for keeping upgradability in mind. And so if you want to write this down, you might see questions such like upgradability, maintainability, testability, extensibility, modularity, inheritance, compatibility, and simplicity. So I might actually do an article on some of this stuff just to help clarify it and make it a little bit easier to understand the exact terms that are being discussed on the test there. Yeah, so just if you see one of those terms, you might not even know exactly what it means. And I don't think you really have to. I think, yeah, okay. So well, we might take a little diversion and dig into this. I was not necessarily planning on doing this, but that is good. Because I think it's really critical. Let's come here and, layout. Create a new one. In test questions. There we go. All right. Let's look at the, yeah, good. Let's look at some of the most commonly used ones. I've seen upgradability and maintainability regularly. Some of the other ones are not as common. So upgradability. All right. So how does this affect the ability to upgrade Magento? So For example, let's say one of the questions is about making a change on the front end. And one of the options would be to override a Magento template. So copy it into the design directory. But there's some other options. Let's say you could also add a new block to do this. So if you need to add some content, you could either copy an existing template and drop your content in there, or you could find a place in an existing template that already is rendering a container, and you could do it like that. So while the template would work okay, it's not as upgradable, because Magento, when you upgrade it from 2.3.4 to 2.3.5, you're going to get in there and you're going to say, okay, well, now classic example is actually in Magento 1, where the form key kept being added and added to more forms. And finally, one of those soupy patches was in the checkout and on the payment form, and it would cause the entire checkout to blow up because many people had overridden this payment form. And so the form key needed to be added there. So that would be an example of bad upgradability. So again, in upgradability, how does this affect the ability to upgrade Magento? Will this update require additional work when Magento is upgraded? So again, additional work, because ultimately we're going to say if there's additional work, it's not going to happen. It's going to cause bugs. It's going to cause issues. So it's not very upgradable. A lot of these you're going to see there's some similarities. So maintainability. This again, so upgradability is specifically focusing on updating Magento. Maintainability is going to be more relating to bugs. And let me think of a good example there. We might say, okay, so like for example, let's look at this previous question here. One of this answer right here, having a developer install an IP address filter for these products. So maintainability, I think, in my opinion, comes back to how are we going to manage this update? So we could have a developer install an IP address filter, but is that really maintainable? Are we going to really be getting in there and managing, okay, how's these IP addresses being used in the future? Versus we have two very easy options that are in the configuration. So does this take ongoing maintenance to make sure we can spell here, to keep this feature relevant? So I'm keeping maintainability in mind. Okay. Okay, so that would be relevant there. Of course, I think we could all understand keeping simplicity in mind. See here, is this the easiest option to implement? So, for example, and again, I think this is a great question here. So, keeping simplicity in mind, we could have added that qualifier in here and set shareable. We could use store configuration, or we could have a developer do this. So, just because a developer can do that does not mean it's the most simple way to do it. In fact, I think we would all agree. I'm preaching to the choir here, because as a developer, I can create any feature that we need, but replicating Magento functionality is not ideal on literally every front. We don't want to do that. What we want to do is use Magento functionality, and then we augment it, or we can tweak it if necessary. We want to do it in a good way to do as well. Another thought here on maintainability. Let me review it let me say it like this. Can I use an after plugin instead of an around plugin? So again, we might have an around plugin might be an option, but based off the requirements, will an after plugin work? Yeah. So it's about minimizing the impact, the footprint on the system, because ultimately an around plugin can cause a great catastrophe in the system if it's not used correctly. Compatibility. That one is, let's just drop that here. So compatibility would be, how do I ensure that this maintains the best compatibility in the Magento system? For example, using, let's just as an example here, using order class versus the order interface. So ultimately, Magento is designed to be modular, and that's where also there's the modularity as well. But if we're constantly writing all of our code against the order class, when in reality we could use the order interface, and that's one thing I'd go into in the associate developer project guide, maybe we can use order interface, and we're going to be more future proof, because Magento might deprecate and even remove a method from the order class, but they don't change, especially what those interfaces that are marked with the @API notation. So that would be compatibility. That would also kind of fit into the upgradability and maintainability. So a lot of these kind of end up blurring together, but I hope this provides a good reference in relation to what some of these more common terms mean in a test. So feel free to come back to this slide and review it as time goes on. Let's jump back into our presentation mode here. All right, any questions about this so far? Been a little bit quiet. Maybe it's a little a sip from the fire hose. So that's great, and I'm so glad we got into this. It was something I meant to do right down in Orlando, and I forgot about doing that. I'll probably pull together a video, drop it on YouTube about this as well, simply because it's really, really important to have a good understanding of how this stuff works. Good. That makes me happy. Much clearer now. Thank you, Arthur. Wonderful. Glad to see that, hear that. Okay, so let's continue in. So another trick we can use here, I say a trick, it's kind of common sense. We want to group our answers to the question. So we have anytime we can review a question, or the answers, we want to say what answers are similar and what answers can I eliminate. So usually you can eliminate 50% of the answers just based off a group. So okay, this one is more right. I know this group is wrong. So you're left with a 50-50. I don't know. For me, this is always what I do. I get in there and I say what answers are completely incorrect. And frankly, I usually get down to a 50-50 chance of passing, of achieving a question. The 3 out of 5 are the hardest. But even in a 3 out of 5, you have to understand that it's an odd number, and there is literally one answer that is guaranteed to be correct in there. But here's the other challenge: if you on those 3 out of 5, you don't get partial credit. So you screw it up, you lose the points. Unfortunate, I know. But that's how it works. So anytime you can group answers and then eliminate those incorrect answers, you are doing well. I always use the example, and I've as we've written the practice tests, the software for those practice tests, I sometimes have in testing it just clicked through the whole entire test, and it's funny. You click the first answer for every single question, you're going to get a 25%. Pretty much average 22 to 27, 28. But it's going to average out to be 25%. So take comfort that if you even just click the first answer through the entire test, you're going to get probably about a 25% chance. So starting on that foundation, we can work out from there, and we can, again, using grouping, that sort of thing, hopefully will get you at least closer to a 50-50. And most of the tests are in the 60s in order to pass. So it seems like you're in a lot of ways, as you learn, as you grow here, you are really close. All right, so let's talk about some test taking strategies. And I think this is extremely important. So bear with me. I view the test taking as, look at it with 3 steps in mind. The first step is what I call the triage round. If you ever have some time just to kill, go to YouTube and search for pile up winter, or pile ups in winter. We use the term in the United States as a description, and maybe you guys have this in Europe as well, but in the United States, we get winter weather. Winter weather be like that white stuff that comes out of the sky, sticks on the ground, and some people ski in it, some people make snow angels in it, kids love it, that sort of thing. We call that snow. And so in the winter, it makes it treacherous to drive your vehicle in that type of when that white stuff is on the ground. And so we unfortunately, there's on the highways, especially when there's a lot of the white stuff coming out of the sky, you end up not being able to see very far, and then you can't see when a car spins out in front of you, and if you're driving too fast, you slam into them. And even if you're not driving too fast, if the road's really icy, you still might hit into them. Well, the problem is this can cause a chain reaction. One car hits into another car, and there's semis involved. It's an absolute disaster, and it's an absolute mess when it happens. And so there's actually been some video that's, in the past couple years, that's come out. It's just like, wow, I am certainly glad I'm not driving in that type of weather. You could not imagine. But it's not good. So when the first responders, when the emergency people get there, the police, the fire, and the medical people get there to help try to sort this mess out, they use a system called like a triage. So they're going to go around to every car very quickly and see who is in most need of emergency services. Now, obviously, there's going to be people who have already clearly passed, very sadly, in some situations. The good news is it doesn't seem like it's very regular that happens. But there's going to be some people who are seriously hurt. There's going to be some people who are just totally fine. They just need to get out of this area, get off the road, get away from these cars as they continue to slam into other cars. So, excuse me. That's called a triage. What is most in need of help? So the first round of your test taking is a triage. Take 20 to 30 minutes of time. Go through each question. Do your best to read it quickly, answer it quickly. There's going to be those questions you have not a clue about. Still mark an answer, but and move on. But check the review box. At the bottom of your screen, there's a box, say review, mark for later, review, or something like that. Mark for later. Check that box. Any question you don't have 80, 90% certainty that this is the answer, you are correct on it, mark it for later. But move. You got to keep moving. Gratefully, we don't have people's lives depending on us in this situation, but your pass or fail might depend on this. So keep moving through this test. Once you're done, go back. There's a button to click review, and you can go through and check all the ones that have been that are in need of review. Oh, Ravi, mark for review. That is the magic checkbox you need to remember. So you can go then and start reviewing each question that you have checked for review. Go through each one of those questions and take your time on this now. So this is 30 to 40, maybe 50 minutes. Again, we have 90 minutes here, 50 minutes, something like that, to take time to review it, to answer that, think through that question seriously. Okay, what is involved here? What do I need to know? Read that question several times. Some of these questions are really long. I was surprised as we were doing some review on the front-end developer. And actually the professional developer as well. There was it seemed like questions that long. And the problem is if you have a small screen, it makes it all the more difficult. So if you can, little hint here, take it on as big of a screen as you possibly can. Then you can see more of the content in one sitting. Then you don't have to be scrolling around, and that makes it difficult. Then the third round, go back through and double check every question. Try to read it as if you didn't see the answer that you've already marked. Read the question, read the answer, and say, how would I answer this again? I always find, we'll see if it's this case for my JavaScript test when I take that, but I always find it's literally 2 to 3 questions every test that I change my answer. And I was like, man, I didn't see that. I didn't read that carefully. Reading something carefully is probably the most important thing that you can do. You have to read it carefully. You have to take your time on this. But also you have to keep in mind the clock. And that's the challenge. That is the real challenge. So the other thing is use up the clock. Don't just blast through the test one time and it took you 30, 45 minutes and then click submit. No, use up the clock. You'll be very grateful with yourself. Even if you do fail, you're not going to say, well, at least I could have taken some more time and maybe I would have passed at that point. So use up the clock. Now, for me personally, I like to take my tests on a Tuesday, and March 3rd is when I have my JavaScript developer test scheduled. So we'll see. Schedule it for a Tuesday. I say it has the best chance of passing simply because it's you're not getting into your week too far. I find the farther I get into a week, I've kind of become more tired. There's just a lot going on. Scheduled for Tuesday. And the other reason is on Sunday I don't study at all. So I kind of have a reset in my mental preparations. So I schedule it for Tuesday. So I get back into studying on Monday, and then I go for it on Tuesday. But here's the big key point. Schedule it for the morning. Don't take it in the afternoon or the evening on a work day. On a weekend, that's great. But on a weekend, it's great. On a weekday, only take it in the morning unless you're taking a vacation day. Because I can guarantee you're going to get into the work and there's going to be some emergency that's going to happen that day. Your mind is going to be completely off in emergency zone trying to deal with this crisis that's on your plate. And then it's not going to work very well. So with that, take it in the morning, block off this time. So don't check your email, turn off Slack, turn off Microsoft Teams, make sure nobody can text you, but just focus on review and study. So and don't be distracted, and then go take the test in the morning. All right. That is what I wanted to share with you today. My goal is to see every one of you successful. I want to see you successful, and there's only so much I can do. I can't give you a little implant into your brain and be able to help you pass the test. That wouldn't work anyways. You wouldn't trust me as a brain surgeon as well. So that would be a very bad situation there. So I have some time for questions. I'll do my best to give you some answers, and let's see what comes up. So if anybody has questions, I'm happy to answer them, at least do my very best to do that. Here's a question I saw for Ravi. All right. It was back there a little bit. So Visnu asked, so do you pass the associate developer by reading the PDF or to use other resources that you've used in preparation? Okay. So just to make it very clear, just reading a PDF, unless you already have most of the experience, say maybe 70% of the experience necessary to pass the test, you're probably going to fail the test. So, of course, your mileage could vary. You might have the experience necessary, and so just reading the PDF might be okay. But I always recommend other resources. So it's going to take curiosity. It's going to take investigation. And that's where I pulled together that Associate Developer Project Guide. It's not a study guide. It's a project guide, and that's free. It's available on our website. Just go find the Associate Developer Study Guide, and there's a link there. My goal is to make it a little more obvious. I also want to put a link in the study guide itself, and also, so I have a couple upgrades to do there. That's how you can do it. So it's going to take time. I suggest 80 hours plus in order to take the test. A study, it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of effort, but it's going to make you successful. And that is my goal, to see that. So, so the project guide. Yes, I think I talked about it a little bit earlier, but the project guide here, let me open this up. I'm using a Google Doc here for my project guide, so I'll just drag that over here. And then we'll do this. All right. So we'll zoom in a little bit as well. So the project guide, and this is what makes me really excited about this. So we go through, there's close to 40 steps in this process of going through and creating this interface to be able to push an order out to an external web service. My goal is to start out by like a technical architect. Here's the requirements for this. And here is all the buttons. Here's everything that we need to do in order to complete these requirements. Here is the JSON template that we need to fulfill, we need to complete in this. But then I go through the environment configuration. What does it take to get this set up? And then we go through step by step. Actually, here's the overview. We'll go through step by step. What does this take? How do we do this? And again, I'm recording videos. My goal is to get 5 videos done today. We'll see. I'm not optimistic, but trying to be also realistic. So trying to get 5 videos done today. And so I have these steps. I'm actually up through starting to step 6 here. So we're making good progress. These videos then the goal is to show you and to lead you into how to do this right. Every one of these steps, and let me just look at it, show you this. Identify which layout handle we need to customize. All right, so we're not doing a Google search. Okay, I want to customize the sales order page. How do I do that? No, my goal is to show you in the code, here is where you find this. Here is how you find this. So use the body tag, use the URL. But there's a caveat for the URL. Okay, add fields into store configuration. How do you do that? Well, here is how you do it, and it's not by going to Google. My friends, going to Google will not always give you the right answer. It's about understanding how to find this in the Magento core code. So that's why I think it's really, really powerful to do this. So you'll see, again, example after example here. I'm adding the block, and here is where to find the sample blocks. Here's how to find the place to inject this content. Now, that's why I go through over and over again in this project guide. So that's why I'm really, really excited about it. I hope it's going to be really powerful in helping you succeed. Is there any other questions? Oh, yes, Deeks has said that now the exam fee is too high. I understand. $300 is, I understand it's a lot. And so it's at that point, it's what you have to work through. But here's what I would suggest. If anyone is not able to afford the exam fee, here's what I would suggest. Do the study anyways. Do the study anyways. Maybe do a little extra study. So while you will not have this associate developer certification, as you are going to sit for an interview or talk with your colleagues, they're going to understand, wow, this person's, they don't have their associate developer certification. And maybe you explain, hey, look, the exam fee is just too much. But man, this person knows what they're talking about. And ultimately, again, as I say, the certificate is literally a badge saying you studied. That's all it is. And it is worth 10 times. The value of your study is worth 10 times the certificate itself. If you look at it that way, and if you do, it doesn't really matter. You're gonna gain so much value out of this process. It's incredible. So that's what I suggest. Look at this study, this preparation. Even if you don't take this certification, look at the study and the preparation as 10 times more valuable than the certification itself. Because ultimately, I have interviewed people, let's just put it this way. I've interviewed people who have taken the test, and I can tell they just more or less barely studied for it and just squeaked by, and they didn't have the understanding for that. And there's also people that I have talked to that they haven't taken the test yet. They are planning on it, but their knowledge is incredible. And so while the certification is a good differentiator, there's other things that one can do to help balance that out, even if one is not able to get a certification. All right. Well, I think it's about time to sign off for today. Thank you for joining in. It was great being with you all, and I look forward to talking in 2 weeks. Hopefully, we're going to have a lot more passes in the next couple weeks, and I look forward to hearing the great news, the great results of these tests. So again, continue with the study. Don't give up there. Remember, if an area seems difficult, an area seems no fun to dig into, that is your warning flag that you better get into that. You had better get into learning about that area. So anyways, all that aside, I look forward to seeing you here next time. Take care, and we will see you later.